Hi folks, welcome to today's tutorial on inverse trig functions. Today we'll be looking at three new trig functions and how that they relate to the three that we already know. So what are the three that we already know? Hopefully you thought about SOHCAHTOA, or some old hags, all that sort of stuff. So first of all, what does SOH stand for? Hopefully you said sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse. Our car is our cos theta, which is adjacent over hypotenuse, and of course our TOA is our tan ratio, which is opposite over adjacent, and we can use these to find unknown sides or unknown angles. Okay, so what are these three new trig ratios that I've been talking about? Okay, well, the first is called, or the official name is the cosecant trig ratio, followed by the secant, and then finally the cotangent. Okay, now these often aren't called the cosecant, the secant, and the cotangent, so let's have a look at the usual names. So the first is usually called cosec theta, then sec theta, and then our cot theta. So that's what we'll be referring them to in this tutorial, and I guess for most of our work. Okay, now I know when you first went and did your, your SOHCAHTOA stuff, you'd never really seen it or really heard about it, I guess, but you probably had seen it on your calculator, and you saw your sine, cos, and tan. But I guess if you look at your calculator, you can't see your sine, cos, and tan. So you're thinking, so your cosec, your sec, and your cot. So you're kind of thinking, hold on, this is going to be a little bit tricky. Well, it is a little bit tricky, but you know what? It's not that hard, not that tricky. We can say that the cosec theta, we can actually find that because it is actually the inverse of our sine theta. 1 over sine theta. Now remember, inverse means 1 over. So the cosec theta is exactly the same as the inverse of sine theta. Likewise, sec theta is exactly the same as the inverse of, you got it, cos theta. And what do you reckon about cot theta? What do you reckon that's the inverse of? Hopefully you said tan theta. So if we know what sine theta is, we can then use that to find cosec theta by doing 1 divided by sine theta, or 1 divided by sine, whatever the angle is going to be. It's actually nice and easy. I think the hard part will probably be remembering which one links in with which one. So how do we remember that? Well, it's up to you, to be honest, but the way that I do it, I see the first one says cos. Now often we think, well, that should be 1 over cos theta, but remember, inverse is kind of like opposite, so the opposite of cos is kind of like sine. So that's how I remember it. And then obviously the sec is cos. Sometimes it ends in C. That can get misleading though, I guess. But cot is nice and easy because that's got a t in it, so it's 1 over tan theta. So how can I use this in order to help me